Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today we are going to talk about the law of vibration and also the act of letting go. These are two huge ideas that I talk about on my channel all the time. So for those of you who are new here, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of my videos. But I talk about how to heal yourself from chronic illness, chronic disease, chronic pain, chronic suffering of any kind, whether it's emotional or physical. So today we're going to talk about two concepts that are very important. And the first is the law of vibration. So if you have not seen my video on the law of vibration, go check it out. I'll include the link below, and it's really important that you watch that video as a starting place, but we're going to pick it up from that video. So the law of vibration suggests that it's not the law of attraction that we really need in our life, that is getting us to where we want to go, but it is the law of vibration, right? What we feel we attract, not what we think about what we attract, not what we wish for, not what we want, not what we think about, but what we feel. So when we talk about feelings, we're talking about all the different states. So there is a rung of states. So let's get into it. There's a ladder. Imagine a ladder, okay? We're gonna start at the bottom. So down here at the very bottom is a total helplessness, powerlessness feeling, okay? This is where you are just completely and utterly powerless. Then we have emotions like shame and guilt, right? Hatred, insecurity. So we start to climb up a bit. So the very lowest is when you're completely powerless and hopeless. That is why I talk a lot about my channel about taking your power back. And if you haven't seen that video yet, you can check it out. But let's just say that powerlessness is at the very bottom of the level. And we're gonna climb up because the reason why shame and guilt and insecurity and hatred and fear is above the helplessness and the hopelessness and the powerlessness here is because you care. This is really an apathetic feeling down here, and you're hopeless and you're helpless and you are totally powerless. Well, when you have fear, you have some power, right? What does fear do? It kicks into you that you need to run or fight or flee. So it's a higher emotion, believe it or not. So if you are feeling completely powerless and hopeless, this is where people commit suicide. If you're feeling fear or you have an anxiety condition, your body is actually protecting you, believe it or not, against feeling that powerless and hopelessness. It doesn't want you to sink down the ladder. It's keeping you at fear, and you think there could be nothing worse than this fear, there could be nothing worse than this anxiety condition, but believe it or not, it is the complete helpless and hopeless feeling and the shame and the guilt below it. So actually it serves a purpose. So all your emotions serve a purpose, and that is to, even though you think, and then when you're here, so I'm just gonna to move up a little bit, you're at fear and you're thinking, oh my God, sometimes you're feeling anger, right? And you're like, oh, I have such rage issues and I'm angry and I'm snapping at everybody and I'm filled with this rage. Nothing could be worse than this anger issues that I need to deal with. Well, fear, that anxiety condition, is below that. Why? Because if you're angry, you're ready to fight. You're ready to do something about it. You're ready to take control, right? It has an almost readiness to it, a determination to it that fear doesn't. Fear is more in a flight situation. You're more apt to run, to hide, to freeze. So you can see how one builds. So sometimes people don't think that their anger is protecting them and it's actually being useful. It's in their life for a reason, and that's so that it doesn't have fear, or it doesn't have an anxiety condition, or it doesn't have a depressive, major depressive or suicidal condition underneath that. So they're all levels, even though they're negative feelings. You can see that the downward spiral, you can go so right at the top of sort of the downward or the negative emotions, you have things like anger, you have things like pride and impatience and frustrations or doubt or irritation, worry. These things are above anger, right? Worry is above anger. You're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to make a plan. Worry is all about planning, right? If you're worried about something, then you're going to try to solve the puzzle. You're going to try to solve it. So worry is much higher than anger because you're not just reacting. And it's much higher than fear because you're not running away or freezing. And it's way much higher than helplessness and hopelessness and that powerlessness that you feel at the very bottom where people commit suicide. So, and when we have this like doubt and frustration and irritation and pessimism, that's all kind of, you're very close to getting up to neutrality. So these are they may be bothering you every day. You may be irritated or frustrated or impatient, but they're better and they're protecting you from actually feeling that worry and that doubt that is keeping you safe from the anger and the rage that is keeping you safe from the fear, right? And that fear and that freezing feeling, and that's keeping you, safe from the shame and the guilt, and that's keeping you safe from the powerlessness and the hopelessness, okay? So they're all levels and they're all protecting you. All right, so when you sort of get to this neutrality state, neutral is what we say, there's a lot of boredom, okay? Boredom is neutrality, just sort of nothingness, a lot of neutral feelings. There's not a lot happening there, and people don't often think there's nothing really exciting about that state. When you feel these lower vibrational states, you're feeling energy. It's an energy of angst. It's an energy of getting out of it, getting away from it, fighting from it, fleeing from it, isolating away from it, distracting from it, right? There's this real energy behind it. When you get up to neutrality, the energy dissipates, okay? And you're left with a feeling of freedom, boredom, peace, just blah. You're just there, right? And this is when you're in the present moment. But life isn't really negative or positive. It's not really exciting. And so people miss the beauty of neutrality. And that is always our baseline where we're trying to get to, okay? When we get into the positive ladders, now we're going up the positive ladders, some of the first signs that you will feel that you're climbing out of this energy. First of all, these ones down here, they're a very negative, dense vibrational energy. So when we're talking about vibrations, they can actually be measured scientifically. And the emotions down here are very dense. They're heavy. That is why a lot of times you feel exhausted. You feel worn out, tired. They're very dense and heavy emotions to be carrying with you. They're exhausting. They're tiring. It's like, and we generally try to suppress them. Okay, so what we do when we have these negative, dense energies is the way people deal with these feelings and emotions that come up. There's only 3 ways, okay? So number 1 is they try to suppress them or repress them. Meaning, go away, I don't want to deal with you, I want to push you away. We just push through our day, we don't acknowledge it, we pretend it's not happening, right? If we feel an anger or an irritation, we think to ourselves, oh man, I shouldn't act this way, I shouldn't say this. We do a lot of I shouldn't, I should, and we just push it down. It's inside. We keep all these feelings inside us because they're not worthy of letting out, right? We're afraid of letting them out. If I let out my frustration or my feelings on this, people will be mad. What will people think of me? They'll be upset with me. So a lot of times, or something could be a very traumatic experience, and rather than feeling all those very, very heavy and helpless and powerless and fearful emotions, we decide to suppress them or repress them. And a lot of times this is not conscious. So if this is happening to you, this is not your fault. This is not conscious. This is being suppressed and repressed by the unconscious, okay? So this is happening very, very, very fast. Your central nervous system is choosing to do this. This is your fight or flight activation system that happens like that. It's your autonomic nervous system. It's happening, okay? And if it's happened before, it creates these patterns. Now, when we suppress, that is one way. We suppress or repress them. So the other way to deal with these negative emotions is to express them. That's number 2, express. So now every time we feel agitated or irritated or sad or jealous or angry or doubtful or guilty or powerless or whatever, we talk, we express it. We might snap at people. We don't hold in any of our feelings, right? You probably know people like this. They make a big deal about everything. Everything is, they need to speak about everything. So they're countering this repression by trying to get it out. This is expression. Some people journal all day. Some people talk with talk therapists. Some people just talk to their partners, their friends. They're constantly talking about their problems, about everything on their mind. These people are draining the energy of other people. They ruin their relationships. They drive people away from them. When they feel angry and they snap at people, people will generally snap back at them, and now they're in a combative, so they have a lot of enemies. They have a lot of relationships that are broken, that don't work. People don't, tend to avoid them because they're a drain on them. So this expression, which is now deemed as very healthy, after Freud, the Freudian movement of psychiatry and psychology, and talking about all these feelings and getting them out, is really just another way, right? We either suppress or we express. And so when we express, though, it also has negative side effects. Sure, we're not keeping it down. We're not having this huge weight of energy inside us anymore, but we do have negative consequences to this expression, unless you're doing it by yourself in journal work and throwing it out. But if you're expressing it all the time, you let your anger go, you snap at people, you're impatient, you talk to them about all your worries and your doubts. If you feel rage, you just let it go. If you're jealous, you tell them, you tell someone off, you talk and talk to people, and you drain people, or you create these combative situations. So expression is also another way that's hurting us in a way. So suppression, expression, and they both aren't super great. And lastly is distraction, right? Whereas we just don't want to deal with it. We don't want to think about it. We distract ourselves from the feeling or the emotion rather than stuffing it down, rather than expressing it, because we realize both of those could have consequences. We distract ourselves. We try to avoid it. So this is an avoidance, okay? Avoid the feeling, avoid the emotion, okay? And how do we do that? That's a lot of people can get into really bad patterns this way. They can get into, addictions, eating disorders, gambling, sex addictions, right? This is where all these addictions come from, or negative behaviors. We're trying to fill our time, fill our mind, fill our thoughts with something better. We avoid it so it doesn't have to come up. We turn our mind to something else. Now, this can be a useful technique if you're feeling your distraction is something that is going towards the life that you want, that is going in the direction of your dreams. But when people are just pulling at things to distract with in their avoidance of these emotions, they often go to eating. So overeating can become a real thing, or binge watching TV shows, or getting on Facebook and scrolling. All behaviors that are not productive in your life, right? You could smoke, you could drink, you could get into heavy drugs or addiction, right? People try to numb their feelings. They try to avoid them, and they drink and they give themselves a better feeling state. But even if it's something simple like just wasting time on social media or watching TV, and as soon as you walk in the room, you have to flick on your television, or as soon as you're standing in a line and you realize you're alone with your own emotions or feelings, and you start scrolling through your phone. This is people who are afraid to be alone with themselves, okay? And they're afraid to be alone with themselves because they know that as soon as they are standing in that line at the grocery store and they're not looking at their phone, distracting themselves, feelings are gonna come up of powerlessness and doubt and joy and insecurity and anger and desire, and all these different feelings are going to rise, and they're uncomfortable. They don't know how to feel them. They don't know how to be with their own selves. They feel very agitated and uncomfortable in their own skin. And so these are people who also are never going to heal. They're never going to heal because they're never facing their own emotions and feelings. So What does this have to do? Sorry, I got off track, but what does this have to do with the law of vibration? So the law of vibration says that what you feel, you attract more of. So if you're feeling powerlessness and you're in the energy of powerlessness, you're going to attract more powerlessness. If you're in the energy of anger, you're going to attract more anger. If you're in the energy of doubt or insecurity, you're going to attract more doubt and insecurity. So it's the feeling that you're attracting, that vibrational plane that you're in, whatever is that you're feeling, that is just resonating around you, right? It's an energy, and whatever rung of the ladder, whatever density that energy is, you're going to be attracting people and situations that are in that plane, okay? So that is the law of vibration. So we want to be vibrating at higher levels. So what are higher levels? Okay, so we have, after neutrality and this boredom and this kind of like present moment bliss, we have like, we're getting courage. A lot of times courage and will. We have our will, and we're contentment and belief, and we feel, and that's kind of right up here. And then we start to go higher. We have this happiness and enthusiasm and creativity. We have like acceptance, and we're feeling passion and eagerness for life. That will attract more of that energy. We're sort of in a flow state there, right? When we do things, we're not thinking about our emotions, we're flowing with them. Everything just seems great, and we're eager and we're passionate, and we feel in this flow state of happiness and optimism, right? We can climb even higher on the lung, and the highest points on the lung here is when we get up into things like our passion, and now we get a little higher into empowerment. Now we feel empowered. This is the opposite of that powerlessness. We're empowered, and we feel total love and acceptance when we have this power. So now we're getting into the highest possible rungs on the ladder, which is complete love, acceptance, and then joy. Joy is the very top. It's even above love. It's even above love. You can love something so much and feel that love and feel that acceptance, but bliss, to have this joy and bliss, is freedom. And that is the highest. That is the very highest vibration, which is your freedom. Because once you're feeling joy and bliss, you're free. Okay, so these are the states, and these are very light, freeing, moving, quick to move. They're airy. They're very easy once you get up here. Not like heavy and dense energies. They're beautiful, easy, breezy, airy, happy. They're very a different kind of an energy up here, right? We're not carrying it. It doesn't weigh us down at all to feel these things, right? So we're getting closer and closer up there. So that is the law of vibration. And again, if you haven't checked out my video on the law of vibration, go do that now. But so that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to vibrate at a higher energy than we were before. So a lot of people think like, man, if I'm powerless, I need to go to empowered, right? Or if I'm angry, I need to go to forgiveness. Or if I'm like filled with shame, I need to feel total acceptance and self-love. But that's where people go wrong, is they try to stuff those feelings down and pretend they're not happening. They say, okay, I know you shouldn't be happening, shame and guilt. I want to feel love, self-love, and acceptance. So they push these down and they try to create these feelings, and it's not natural and it can't happen. And that's why people fail at the law of attraction, because they're thinking, I feel self-love, I feel self-acceptance, but they're not actually feeling that as they're saying, I'm happy, I have love for myself, I have acceptance for myself. What they're feeling when they're saying it is shame and guilt and frustration and anger and worry and sadness, right? That it's not coming true. So they're feeling different than they're thinking. And that's the gap between the law of vibration and the law of attraction. And that's why it doesn't work for a lot of people, because you can say something, which is a thought, and you can really, really want it, but until you feel it, you attract what you feel. So this is very important. You attract what you feel. Okay, so back to letting go. So if we aren't going to suppress it, we're not going to express it, and we're not going to avoid it, the three things, then what are we left with? How do we get rid of these negative emotions so that we can experience the higher vibrational energies that we need in order to heal ourselves, heal our bodies, heal our problems, heal our life, right? How do we experience this vibration when these ones are here? And if we suppress them, it's not working, right? If we suppress them, it's not working. If we express them, it's not working. And if we avoid them, it's not working. So what do? And we're left with only letting go. Letting go. If you have not watched my video on the steps to let go, please do that. It's a very important video. Watch it. I'll put the link below. The steps to letting go. Now, we want to talk about letting go here. Letting go simply means being with the feeling, being with the sensation, being with the thoughts, being with the emotions, without resistance, until the energy behind the thought, feeling, emotion, or sensation dissipates. If you didn't get that, rewind that little segment and watch it again. That is very important and it's key. So we're working with the energy here, and we are sitting with whether it's a negative swirling thoughts that you're having, whether it's these rising, heavy, overpowering emotions, whether it's body, physical sensations all over your body and symptoms, right? No matter what is happening, we sit with it, meaning we don't push it down, we don't express it out, we don't distract from it, we be with it. And we be with it for as long as it takes for the energy behind it, there's this energy that's creating the symptoms and creating the thoughts and creating the emotions and ratcheting us up. When we sit with it long enough, the energy behind whatever is happening will dissipate because it's being allowed to speak, it's being allowed to express to you, it's being felt, and we're not fearing it, we're not running from it, we're not fighting that feeling, we're not trying to make it stop or push it down or get away from it or distract from it or make it go away. We are allowing it. This is a state of allowing. So it's very important that you get comfortable with allowing what's happening in your own thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations to be there without resistance. And that is the key, without resistance. When we do that, they will dissipate. And you may go from shame and guilt to maybe just sadness, okay? Which is above this fear and everything, anger. You may go to something higher and you think it's not working. This is where people give up. People who really are tangled up in this think it's not working. But you notice it's a better energy, okay? Even if it's still on the ladder and you're in the negative, don't give up. Then you sit with that sadness and you allow that sadness for as long as it takes for the sadness and the energy behind the sadness to go away. And you might get something else behind that sadness. You might have like a worry. You're worried about something. Now, most people would give up here and they would think, oh, now I'm just worrying, right? And they would think this doesn't work. But don't you see, you started with powerlessness or anger or fear, and now you're up to worry, which is so much closer to neutrality, right? So you are coming up out of it, and then you sit with that worry. So don't give up at worry. Then you have to let go of the worry. How do we let go of the worry? We stay with the energy behind the worry for as long as it takes for us to feel some courage, right? Now we're getting so close to neutrality. We feel some courage. We feel inspired to do something to solve the worry. We feel a little bit of courage against it. Stay there. Stay with that emotion. Stay with the courage. Stay with the intensity of wanting to make it go away a little bit, getting courage and determination up to do something. Don't just go take the action. Stay with the feeling. We're going to continue to let go. We're going to let go now of the energy behind that determination and that courage to do something to solve this problem. Once you stay with that feeling, the energy behind that emotion will dissipate and you'll be up to neutrality. You will be coming to boredom. Maybe there is no problem now. You see that you don't even need to go take action or do anything. You just needed to think of it. You just needed to let it be. You're just here. You're okay. Don't stop there. Get it? Stay with that emotion. Stay with it and try to let it go. Let go of the neutrality. Let go of it. Let go of the feeling of boredom, that you don't have to do anything, that life's nothing, like there's no point. Let go of this neutrality. Let go of the energy behind it by staying with it for as long as it takes until we get a little surge of positivity, right? A little surge of will or contentment, right? A little surge of acceptance or optimism. And now we've ascended. Okay? Now we're building these positive emotions. We're getting up there. So you can keep doing this until you go all the way up the ladder, right? Into self-love. Underneath that, joy, bliss, and ultimately freedom. So we can rise up and we can rise out of these dense energies and get into these lighter energies. We can use the law of vibration, but we must use the mechanism of letting go in order to use the law of vibration, because just trying to force ourselves to think that we are happy or joyful, or trying to force an emotional state or emotional energy or vibration like hopefulness or optimism or contentment or acceptance or love or hope, whatever that is, when that's not actually what we feel, this is the disconnect. This is why people don't understand it. This is unhealthy, illness, disease, suffering, right? Down here. And this is true healing, health. This is the disconnect. This is important, okay? So if you don't understand this, go watch this video again. I know it's long, but we must use our mechanism of letting go. And again, if you haven't seen the steps to let go, I just described them here, but go watch my video on letting go. And again, if you haven't seen my video on the law of vibration, watch it. Put these two things, they are not so separate. The mechanism of letting go and the law of vibration must work hand in hand. And this is why people fail at just trying to let go or just trying to use the law of attraction, which isn't necessarily right. It's the law of vibration. And when we do that to climb ourselves up emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? We must use this mechanism of letting go in order to get to a state that we feel a true energy of an emotion that is lighter and more positive. But it must be true. It cannot be forced. And that's how we climb. That is how we get there every single time. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you've learned something from it, and I will see you in the next one.